Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the meeting. First thing is the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections? If none, then I need a motion.
I move we approve the minutes from last time.
And a second?
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. We have no citizen communication. We have no special presentations. But I would like to go ahead and move into new business, and then come back to the reports. I have to leave at 5 till 5. So, new business. Who has any new business?
The first thing is our personal policy handbook revision. As we talked about in our special meeting a week ago, we want to adjust the shift differential pay, and we just want to adjust it so that when somebody's working overtime, they're getting paid the time and a half of the shift differential.
Okay.
And we have, and we discussed that last week, and no one really had objections, so the adjusted policies in the packet.
It sounded familiar. But there's nothing in the packet because we had it last
No,
time.
it is in the packet. It
Very last
is.
sheet.
It's just out of order because you switched your
Right.
meeting around.
It's all my fault. What's it look like?
Next to last
Looks like
page.
that.
It's the next to the last page. It
There you
should
go, I
be-
got it right
There
here.
you go.
Okay, is there any questions on the subject? We need a motion to approve.
I move we approve the changes to shift differential pay.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. That's it?
And then turn it over.
That's all I have, yes.
Chad?
In your packet is a summary of bids for RFP 22-100, which was for pickup trucks 16 and 32 that are scheduled for replacement in our fiscal year budget this year. We opened bids for those last week. You'll see in your bid summary that for variety of reasons, we only received one bid from Hutchinson Ford over in St. James. We hand-delivered bids to multiple dealers here in Rolla. We did receive other responses back from from at least one other vendor that General Motors is not providing fleet pricing at this moment. So that's one of the reasons that probably the General Motors potential sales weren't responsive. The other dealers, as we've talked about before, for whatever reasons they do or don't respond. But the end result was the bid received was for a total of $65,892, so $32,946 for each pickup. That compares to our budget of $32,000, so close to budget. And the estimated time frame is 24 to 26 weeks. As everybody's probably familiar, vehicle deliveries at this point in time are a little bit dicey. So, but we would recommend approving the purchase. So go ahead and get it on the book, get it moving, and we'll look for delivery when it arrives. Fortunately, we're not at a place where that length of deliveries in a critical case or anything like that, we're in a critical need for them. So, but we just want to go ahead and we need to go and get them scheduled.
There's nothing unusual about these trucks, is there?
Half-ton four-wheel drives, basic or basic work truck.
They're just a single cab basic work truck. Nothing fancy, but I think again, I think part of it might be is because they don't have leather, they don't have all the accessories and stuff. There's probably not a lot of margin in these, and so the dealers themselves, they probably don't have much margin, so they just don't want to.
They may be getting only a quota of trucks, and so they want to use their quota for
for fancier stuff.
Fancier
That's-
stuff.
I was going to say,
That's
I would
it.
imagine factories are, if you only got just so many transmissions to work with, you want to put them into the high-end trucks, not or whatever part it is that they're.
yeah.
So the scheduling probably
Hold
is
them all up.
influenced there in terms of slotting, is to
Yeah.
try to sell our higher dollar ones and slot these in where there's fit them into the schedule.
Okay.
But we think the one that is provided by Ford, we've got a number of Fords in the fleet. Chevrolet is both. We think it'd be a good quality truck and meets all of our specs.
Okay.
And then we would put if approved, the existing two vehicles that it replaces, those would go to Gov Deals at that point in time after we receive the new ones. We did not, last few years on pickups, we've not even asked for trade-ins because the price on trade-in versus Gov Deals, we've gotten pretty good value out of Gov Deals. So we didn't even set this one up with a trade and just expected to go to Gov Deals when the new one arrives.
What year are the trucks that were replaced?
I forgot to look that up, Nick. I should have. I know one of them's a 2010, 9. The one I used to drive. I think they're both about 2010 to 12 vintage. So
10 years old.
yeah, 10, 12 years old, 130 to 140,000,
I would say
130 to
the
150,000
one you were
miles.
driving is probably even over that.
Yeah, I think
Wouldn't
a
surprise
9
me if
maybe.
it's maybe 2006. It
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if it dates backwards.
Yeah, 8 or 9. Yeah.
All right. Well, we need a motion for my left, I guess.
I move to accept the bid as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Anything else? All right, Gwen, you're up.
Okay, financial statements. This is the end of our fiscal year, but these are prior to the audit, and there will be some adjustments with the audit. I'm expecting, especially, we're going to have to do an adjustment on our accruals for PTO, because that was a change in our policies this year, so I just want to warn you that there will be some adjustments to this. But we finished the year with operating income of $30,303,500. This is an increase of $300,000 from September 2020 and an increase of over $894,000 for the year. So I think that's pretty good. We finished the year at 101% of our projection for operating income. The income budget for the year was not adjusted for February's winter storm, as the changes in the income was pretty negligible compared to the expense for that winter storm. Purchase power expenses are once again showing a decrease of $85,000 from September 2020. We finished the year at 100.75 of our adjusted budget for purchase power. The budget for power was adjusted to account for the large power expense due to February's winter storm. Operating expenses finished the year at $34,541,000, which includes the $25 million for purchase power. This finished the year with an operating loss of $4,237,500. This is slightly better than what we projected. Overall, we finished the year with a total net gain of $5,317,786, but this amount does include the income from the proceeds of the AXTI sale.
So about what we expected.
Does anybody have any questions on those?
So had we not had the Ameren sale or not had the February event, it would have been about break even, which is
Correct.
what our goal was.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions on that? All right, so you got the financial statement from,
And your
Pass over to the
statistics,
city.
yes, from September.
you don't have a last month's sheet, do you?
No,
Probably not.
no.
Okay. So I think our cost per kilowatt hour is still down from what the average was last year.
Yeah. I believe that's true.
Huh?
Last month we did 5.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's-
last month it was in the fives, it's 6.2 now. But still, I think it was close to 7
Yeah, we're consistently less.
last year.
We are seeing, and I think I've been saying this for quite a while, transmission charges, which are outside of our power purchase cost, keep ticking up. That's a trend that's going on. That's one of the things we're looking at on a pool-wide level is how do we mitigate some of those expenses, and we're doing that by investing in transmission lines where we can.
Okay, so we need a vote to approve the financial statement,
I move to approve the financial statement as presented.
and a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, the next thing is that we have hired an IT intern that's been working with us this semester, and he has gone in and updated the look of our website. So I encourage you to at least go look at it. At this point in time, none of the content has changed, but it looks much
Cleaner.
cleaner, yes. And it also, the pages adjust now to, when you're on your cell phone or when you're on a tablet, to fit to the screen for those sort of things too. So he's updated that quite a bit. We are still looking through it to update the content in it as well. But I just want you to kind of take a look at it and see what you think, because I think he's done an excellent job. Our auditor, normally our auditor comes in November or early December. I'm hoping that's still going to happen at this point in time. He is very short-staffed, like most of the rest of the world seems to be, so he's working on getting a schedule put together, but I do not have dates at this point in time. The other thing is that there are BRIC grant funds available for some infrastructure, mainly AMI-type systems that we are looking into. Tantalus, which is an AMI metering company, has actually hired a consultant to help us with maybe applying for those grants, so we're looking into that. There are also some ARPA funds available that we may be able to use for some COVID expenses that we had on our insurance last year. So we are looking into applying for those as well. So.
And that was your suggestion from last month. We've already
Yes.
met with the county commissioners, talked with them. We're communicating with the city as well on the ARPA funds, and it sounds like we might have progress on one or the other front. The other thing we use ARPA funds for possibly is maybe some broadband or water projects as well.
Yeah. Okay. It's all good.
That's all I've got.
Jason?
All right. I just wanted to give an update on our disconnect notices. We are working on eliminating mailing disconnect notices effective hopefully January 1st. We're going to be replacing them with all digital, like through eBill, like kind of tied in with our eBill system through Paymentus. So everybody who's signed up for eBills will still get a disconnect notice. We're working on that still with Paymentus, so that's kind of a process. I'm still in process of working that out. They're the last major item that we still mail out, like and do mass mailings for. So we're trying to move away from doing all the mass mailing in house, and this will get everything to InfoSend or Paymentus.
With cities that have switched over to the system or similar systems, what percentage of their customers ultimately sign up for the
I
e-billing?
don't know that.
I don't know what the ultimate is, but
Are we looking to get 60%, 80%?
I think we're shooting for higher than 60%. I think we could get up to. I mean, I don't want to say numbers out because, like I said, I haven't really looked into it. But I would be shocked if we couldn't get to 75%.
And right now, what's our counts now?
Right now, we're over 10%, and that's but we haven't really pushed a lot yet because we've still been working out a few bugs. It's working, but we haven't got it totally streamlined the way we want. So we haven't really pushed it yet like we plan on.
Right, okay.
The disconnect will be a big one to help with that, to push that towards that direction too, to help get people that and get it in a faster way. Right now, we're having people who are, because of the mail service delays, sometimes not getting their disconnect notice until the day before it's due anyway. So it's not working as well as it should or could, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The CSRs are using every opportunity to tell people that this is coming. We've got it on our bills. It's been on our bills for a month now, that this change is coming. And if for some reason we can't get it worked out with Paymentus, we are going to delay. We're not going to just stop doing it. So that we're prepared for that too, but we're hopeful that we can get it. I found someone that I'm finally getting to actually work with at Paymentus, and I'm making good progress. So I think we can get it figured out.
Yeah, okay.
You have any questions?
No?
That's all I've got.
Okay. Chad?
Development Review Committee meeting, had a couple of meetings since we've last gotten together as a board. Morecamp Family Dentistry on Pine Tree Road had a request for a sign variance, no impact for RMU, so we provided comments accordingly. And then on October 19th, BRC meeting, two rezoning requests. So in terms of the rezoning itself, we're neutral on both of those requests, but for one on South Oak Street and South Olive Street, basically adjoins Highway 72. We just highlighted the fact that we may, or we would likely be requesting an easement if they go forward with a plat development, just to be able to have potential for an easement along the adjacent property along Highway 72 for future water line replacement or extensions, or extension. So then North Walnut Street rezoning for some commercial, or for some residential redevelopment. So kind of hitting some of the highlights of regular operations report. Some of the commercial redevelopment commercial work continues to take place as contractors are underway. Quick Trip project for anybody who's been out in the High Point area recently. That they have recently started construction and they're moving very quickly now that they're underway. So that project is starting to progress. Burger King, everybody obviously seen the progress at Burger King. Recently they put in the underground primary, so initially we weren't having a lot of involvement there, and like every one of these projects, our involvement ebbs and flows over time typically. So our crews have also started recently working on reconfiguring a couple of the circuits coming out of the downtown sub towards this part of downtown. That's going to involve tearing up or excavating 8th Street, utilizing some conduits we put in under the railroad a number of years ago with a water main replacement. So right now we're waiting on some concrete vaults for some of the underground work and some of the changes in directions that we're going to put in underground vaults in. Those concrete vaults we've ordered quite a while ago, and we're just waiting on those for delivery to continue forward with that project. You've seen some activity with pole replacements initiating the start of that project, but the excavation will take place after we get those vaults. So water line work replacement continues. Strelbach and Walker are completed. Green Acres, we had a blowout pretty close to Highway 72, so there was about 300 feet or so of Green Acres that we replaced most of Green Acres Drive a number of years ago, but there was a portion of it, for whatever reasons, without going into the history of it, that we didn't replace at that point in time. So with that blowout, we're going to go ahead and replace the remainder of Green Acres Drive. Pine Street services, a couple of wells, unique circumstances. We had a pump, well 8, the pump motor starter set failed. So while that failed, it had been in there a number of years, so it wasn't so much surprising. It just finally gave out. So while that was out, we replaced pump motor starter, and then also some of the PLC and other associated monitoring control systems. So well 14, this may sound a little bit familiar, we actually replaced that motor and pump set last December, November and December. It went back online in early December, so we're not quite sure what happened yet. They were potentially going to be here today to pull that pump and figure out what happened, but obviously rain held that one off, so soon we'll be finding out what happened to that one that quit the other day. So we're not sure if there may be a warranty claim on it or not, so we'll investigate that and see as it goes along. So a little bit of training that's highlighted there, MPUA annual conference, water and wastewater conference training for some of the staff, surveillant users conference. Make sure and highlight some street repairs. We've got a couple of invoices over last week from the city for as part of our memorandum of understanding that we normally have with the city for street repairs, on water main repairs and service lines and new construction. In this case, both the invoices were for work that the city's staff had done, repairing water main repairs and service lines, and the total of that was $80,583 for those two invoices. So, and that was billed according to the MOU with the city that we approve every year. So, some other highlights that's not in the report, but just kind of hitting some highlights of other stuff going on too. With a little bit of chance to catch up on some work after Kings Highway and some other projects have kind of been caught up. We've been starting to address some poles that need some attention for replacement. If anybody's been up and down Salem Avenue, that's kind of the first place we've been doing is attacking some of the poles that need some attention, replacing those. So there's not as much project capital type of work on the report this time. It's more starting a little bit more maintenance activity, probably driven. So, but that just ebbs and flows obviously over time. But at the same point in time, intermingling that with as need be commercial and multifamily and single family starts, that everybody's probably seen that there's quite a bit of activity going on there. St. Maria's development, I think we had In particular, in that location, we had 5 building permits submitted this week for development out there on 5 lots. So, so it seems like a couple other lots around town. So, and getting some interaction and some interest from other commercial and multifamily and single family, all of them, so that are going on. So a lot of activity going on, and then university activity. So obviously they've got a lot of activity going on, a lot of push with the new arrival district, the university drive relocation, et cetera. That's causing a lot of work to be planned. We're interacting a lot with the university staff, their consultants, to try to coordinate timelines and thoughts on what's happening when and what's going to be going on, and that we need to be coordinating and thinking through, so that we can meet their timelines also. Rolla TDD, Transportation Development District, everybody's probably read about it in the paper, that they've been continuing to plan and progress for planning for Pine Street and Rolla Street. So we'll continue to be involved with that process, and see how that adapts and what we need to do there. A couple other additional items, kind of updates and or considerations for future. We've had a request this week from one contractor that may be putting in a bid for some significant interstate work next summer or over the next year that MoDOT's bidding out. And one of the things they're looking at is setting up a temporary concrete plant with a lot of site work, where they're going to have their operations headquartered in addition to that temporary concrete plant. And one of the things that they were trying to identify sites, and they got a hold of us to see about potentially obtaining water service for that facility. And if it's located inside its city limits, pretty easy, pretty obvious, but the size of the property they may need may land them outside city limits, but they may be close enough that it still makes sense to see if they could potentially buy water from us, hook a hose to it. I call it a hose, but some poly piping or something like that they could actually just pipe water temporarily to their site, even if it's a little bit of ways. So just, I think we wanted to just make sure, and if there's any thoughts or if we need to kind of think about precedents being set for selling water outside city limits on a temporary basis. Normally we don't sell water unless it's inside city limits, but this could be a temporary basis where it may make sense to meet that temporary need. So.
Yeah, from my perspective, normally we'd say no, this being a MoDOT project, a temporary concrete, maybe a concrete batch plant, fairly close to city limits, and mainly because it's temporary, I would, unless the board objects, my plan would be proceed with that.
But I'm all for it. What about, you guys see any reason not to do that?
I wouldn't know what the left and right lists are, you know.
Like I said, if our normal process, if it's permanent, we're not going to serve it outside city limits. In this case, they could get a tanker and fill on a fire hydrant and just haul it, half mile. They need this to just make that whole service a little bit easier to do. And again, we're looking at this on strictly as it's a temporary basis, and for a state contractor if they're successful in getting the job.
Okay. Sorry, I got to go.
No, that's
Thank
I
you.
understand.
The girls are doing a parade downtown
The time is
between 5:45 and 6.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Albert, you're in charge.
Good.
Thanks.
So,
Of the parade or the meeting?
Well, he didn't say, did he? So, I'll see you later. I'm going
you got to go drive the bus, right? Yeah. So, one other thing that provide you an update on is we are in discussion with Terex. You may recall about this time last year, I think it was a September meeting last year, we considered bids, and the board approved bid for a new bucket truck, about $230,000 to replace one of our bucket trucks. With all the volatility in market and supply chains and everything else, they have submitted information to us over a couple weeks ago, and we've been discussing with them since, including the discussions this morning even, as to what level of price change we will accept, the basis for those price changes, because typically when we do a bid, that's what the price is and that's what the price is delivered as. But obviously with everything that's going on in terms of market supplies and volatility of materials and everything else, they've come to us with a request for additional cost on that vehicle, that we're at this point in time, we're waiting on further information from them as to what to consider to go forward. So, but and I think Rodney has highlighted it in past meetings too. Is that's starting to be the case on all kinds of stuff that we buy, whether that's trucks or conduit, conductor, transformers, so many different products, and lead times also are just continuing to become more and more extended. So we're going to continue to be try to have to adapt and adjust how we do our purchasing to try to identify those things that are very long lead times and maybe even alternative products that we hadn't used before, just to be able to get what we need. So we also anticipate bringing a board agenda action item next month at the next meeting for our SCADA system. We've been looking at some potential upgrades to the SCADA system, with the biggest component of that being, and we'll talk about it in more detail too, or now we're at the next meeting, is being the ability to take the existing SCADA system and replicate it instead of being in a live environment, that I call it, that a person can make changes and actually operate equipment remotely, like a breaker or substation, to basically duplicate that environment to what they call a replicated environment, where viewers, our staff, is still going to be password protected and only permitted for certain viewers, where viewers can remotely see that information out in the field on tablets, things like that. But it's a secure way to see it because it's a duplicated environment and not the real environment. So it provides a level of protection to be able to put it on the internet without with greatly reducing the ability for anybody to hack into it, because it's not the live environment. So it creates that duplicated environment. So it's something that we've been considering for a few years. We've gotten to the point where we think it's a necessary upgrade to do that, and so we'll be bringing it back a quote to consider next month. And then Rodney's got the next page open. I happened to look over and reminded forgot I missed one topic on my agenda, is the leak detection report. In your packet, there's a summary of the leak detection report that was done this year. For everybody will probably remember, we typically have this done. We have a contractor come in and do a leak detection survey every year. This year it was done by Western Leak Detection. Over the years we've wobbled back and forth who's done that survey for us. Western has done it a couple of times. We've been satisfied with their work in the past, so that's why we were able to award them the bid again this year after we received bids. You'll see there that he identified 15 leaks, with 6 of those on mains, 2 of them on service lines, 7 fire hydrant leaks. All of the leaks that he identified were fairly small, in the range of probably 1 to 5 gallons per minute or less. We didn't put all the details of each leak that he found. So it's one of those things where these are leaks that are not surfacing, that they're obvious and readily apparent. They're small leaks that they're seeping into the ground and not showing themselves on the surface typically. So it continues to be a program that we think is a valuable effort to do. In this case, the leak was $13,950. The estimated cost of the loss, based upon a production cost of $1 per thousand, which is in the right neighborhood for our production costs, would result in water not lost through leaks that would be recovered in less than a year, based upon the cost of the survey. So we think it's still a good, valuable effort to do. The guys are working through digging those leaks up and identifying them and getting those repairs made, so as time's available. So and it's surprising how small of a leak sometimes he can hear just by putting listening devices on hydrants and other assets that he can then listen to. So typically a pretty good program. Fortunately, it's one of those things that you hope he finds nothing, but at the same point in time, if he finds something, it proves out the fact that it's worth continuing to do. So it's been something I think we started doing about 10 years ago. And we continue to think that it's good value to continue forward, and we'll continue to do it into the future. And that's, I think, all I had.
All right, I'll finish this out. Just a couple things I'll let you know about. We did have the Loggers Conference a few weeks ago. Veronica, she's one of our CSRs, she was selected by staff to be the member delegate. She attended that conference along with myself, and I'm the appointed employer delegate to attend the recent conference. And again, the main parts of this conference is one, to elect trustees that represent the utilities and the actual organizations. Also, the members elect their own trustees to the Loggers Board of Trustees. The other big part of this conference is kind of highlighting the security and returns the Loggers system is getting. So Loggers is currently about almost 96% funded. National average this last year is about 84%, so we're trending still way above the national average. The good news is even the funds that historically have been a little bit low are up because of stock market returns. As a member retires and moves from being an employee to a retiree, Loggers moves the sum of money required, an actuarial value required from their member pool to the retirement fund. The good news is the retirement fund is 117% funded. That means there's 17% more money in that retirement fund than what's required to provide for about 26,000 retirees that are in the system. And so that's just again going to the security and how they manage the money and the assets they have in the program to make sure they're securing those retirement funds for the retirees. A little bit more information. There's currently 821 participating employers. That's up 28 from last year, so they continue to add members. So when we talk about the 96% funded, that's including 28 plus members that are entering the system this year that have no assets at all, generally. And so it's pretty phenomenal how well we're funded even as we add new members. A little over $10 billion in assets. Again, that's up considerably from last year, again, due to the stock market. From investment performance, just the ratings of Loggers as it compares to other public pension programs across the state and across the nation, they feel they're in the top 3 to 5 rated programs in the United States. And certainly in the top 1% of getting their investment returns and consistently getting those returns year after year. It's a very well-oiled machine, and so I get pretty excited about the system. And this last year, they're doing about $350 million in benefit distributions to these 26,000 or so members. And it's important to highlight that money stays locally. About 93% of the retiree, the distributions they're making to retirees stay in the state of Missouri, and that's pretty incredible too. So it's not only providing for the retirement of people who have served in not just city government, but library districts, ambulance districts, all the different libraries, all these local government agencies. But most of that money also becomes an economic investment tool into the state because they're turning those dollars over in our communities, and so that's really important. And a point they make with the legislators to make sure they understand that money's coming back and staying in the state. I'd mentioned a few months ago that I had been nominated for the APPA Deed Board. There were 4 nominations in our region. It's about, I think, a 4 or 5 state region. There were 4 nominations, including myself. In the end, the current deed board chose a safety director out of Kansas. They were looking for someone with some safety experience to be on the deed board, and that's the direction they went with that. A couple other just miscellaneous. We did hold our first ever team development event on October 8th at the end of Public Power Week. We got all staff together, and again, it was a really important tool we used. Because of our growth and because of turnover, and kind of toward the end of COVID, we gotten where a lot of our office staff did not know our service staff, and vice versa. So it was an opportunity to get everyone together in a single event to get some better introduced to each other and introductions to each other. We did that, and then this week we're doing first thing we've done is lunch and learns. So we are inviting staff, interested staff that want to learn kind of additional information about a lot of things we do. We're inviting them, and over their lunch hour, we're going down on our lunch hour, buying lunch, and then talking about different topics this year. We spoke about our Loggers retirement program. We talked about health insurance and what's changes we have coming there, including the premium changes. About the new 457 program, and then also about flex spending accounts. And again, all the staff are going to learn about those things. This is a much deeper dive into those activities. So again, we're asking the staff if they wanted to learn a little bit more, that they take their lunch hour to learn, and then we'll provide them lunch while we did that. So I think that went over very well. And then next week we start open enrollment for employee benefits, and that's again, we're going to start talking about pre-tax premiums, flex spending accounts, health insurance, sign-ups, all the normal open enrollment. I believe we won't hit the 457. We got our investment advisors coming in later in the month, and we'll have a special meeting just for that. We'll have the employee, and we'll also are inviting their spouses to come in to do some retirement planning. And we think that's a really good thing as well. And then finally, I just want to mention that the notices came out, but the APPA Legislative Rally, which was canceled the last couple of years, is going to be a live event in D.C. this year. So I do plan to attend that in late February, early March. And that's just one of the requirements. Want to travel out of this 5-state area, notify the board of that travel plans. With that, that's all the information I have. Happy to answer any questions, but that's also all the business we have for tonight.
You need to go into executive session,
We do not have executive session tonight.
and all we need is a motion to adjourn.
Correct, sir.
I move to adjourn.
I was second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.